Hi everyone. This is a small video that I'm going to make in relation to why I think General Motors is going to collapse in a couple of years. Um, basically the point is this that General Motors, as a lot of you know, is one of the big three in Detroit, which is Ford, uh, which is quite big as well. And then apart from Ford, there is a company called Chrysler, which is now a part of FCA, which is the Fiat Chrysler Group. And third is General Motors. So General Motors is technically the largest passenger automobile manufacturer in the United States. Uh, what some of the reasons as to why I think General Motors is now going to go broke is basically in relation to what the new CEO, or in fact the CEO for quite some time, Mary Barra, has been talking about. And I'll be talking about a couple of reasons. Number one is the General Motor Ultium battery. So the General Motor Ultium battery is basically the big battery with which General Motor was basically planning to compete with Tesla. This battery is behind schedule, and it is behind schedule by a long margin. General Motor, in the latest statement, has said that it hopes to actually solve all the big battery issues by the year 2024. But looking at the signs of it, I don't think that they will even be able to reach this target. Tesla, on the other hand, by buying the company called Maxwell Technologies, has been able to nail its battery problems till a large extent. And plus, then Tesla as well has gigafactories. It has gigafactories in China, it has gigafactories in Europe, and it has gigafactories in US as well. So I don't think Tesla, as far as battery is concerned, isn't that big of a problem as General Motor is. Second big problem is the Rockstar project of General Motors called Cruise. Cruise was basically a robotaxi service with which General Motors is planning to compete with various other guys like Google and Tesla and so on and so forth as far as autonomous taxis and self-driving cars are concerned. The problem is that recently one of the General Motor Cruise taxi, robotaxi, has dragged a lady for close to 20 feet, and this has resulted in a lawsuit. What General Motors has done is that it has actually decided to go ahead and put the cruise so-called operations on hold for some time, and because the cruise is basically was being tested in California, and California has got very difficult laws as far as robotaxis are concerned. I think this is going to be disaster for General Motors. The third thing, obviously, everyone knows is the UAW strike, United Auto Workers, for benefits and other points as well. And this lawsuit per se is not going very good for General Motors itself, as everyone knows that from the year 2024, General Motors is going to pay close to $595 extra per car made to every worker. So that is at close to uh, $10,000. That is close to like at least 5.9% of the total vehicle cost. But since most of the General Motor cars are pretty much somewhere around like above $20,000 itself, so that is understandable. But all I'm trying to say is that basically the cost, as far as the labor component of the cost is concerned, that is definitely going to increase a lot from the year 2024 for General Motors. Third thing is General Motor has basically got 4,000 dealers across the country, United States itself. And what has happened is that the 4,000 dealers from General Motors have gone ahead and written letters to both Maribara and Joe Biden in relation to the bad policies that General Motors is having. Now, it seems that General Motors is basically losing a lot of money in all the electric vehicles that it is selling, and in some cases, it is said that the dealers are like close to losing close to like from $9,000 to even $19,000 per electric car being sold by General Motors, and that's a huge part. Now, these 4,000 dealers who have been spread across the United States, they're selling a certain amount of internal combustion engines, and they're also selling the electric vehicle lineup of General Motors. So what's happening is that since whatever profits they're making in internal combustion engines, they're basically losing a huge chunk of it to the electric vehicles being sold for General Motors. See, now, unlike Tesla, which does not rely or depend on a dealer network, a company like General Motor, a traditional automaker like General Motor, cannot have a bad relation with the 4,000 dealers that it has spread across the country. So that is turning into a huge problem for them. Then the fourth point that I would like to say is, sorry, fifth point that I like to say is that since the year 2017, GM has lost $8.2 billion. Yeah, that's a billion with B. And right now, GM is losing close to $200 million every week. Yes, that is something what most people are not talking about. But here's the problem: if you look at the balance sheet of General Motors, just like Ford, General Motors is losing a lot more, is losing a lot of money. The only difference is Ford has a much smaller size than General Motors. So, though Ford is also losing money, but if you compare the fact that it has got a negative cash flow and it has a smaller balance sheet, therefore the impact for Ford is much more higher. I personally believe that either the United States government is going to have a significant stake in Ford. Most probably, it will be a government-run company. Although I believe it's kind of not very feasible and possible. So what would most probably happen is, most probably the what the government is going to do is that it would probably get one of the other auto manufacturers to go ahead and buy Ford itself, because sorry, Ford is in a huge doldrum itself. Then now that we've talked about the losses that General Motors is having right now, see, GM shares this year are basically $28. So since the start of 2023, General Motors shares have dropped by 15%. Right? In the year 2010, which is like close to 13 years back, it was predicted that General Motors shares will be at $42. Well, right now they are at 28. So basically, General Motors shares are actually trending $14 below what was predicted in the year 2010. Now that was a year when General Motors was making out of the 2008 recession. It was the government had pumped in a lot of money, and because of it, obviously people were taking a conservative estimate. Now compare this number with Tesla. Since the year 2000, since the last decade itself, Tesla has grown and it has done wonders. But General Motors, it's not doing that great. And because of this, what has happened is that, see, General Motors, through its dealer network, since almost the last decade itself, it is said that it has lost close to $6 billion. Now, see, these are the dealers who are basically training people to switch on to electric vehicles. These are the dealers who are basically using incentives and various other schemes to go ahead and push out General Motor vehicles out there in the market. And this is the problem. What is happening is that General Motors is heavily dependent on its internal combustion engine or ICE engine cars itself. But when it comes to non-ICE technology like EV technologies and all, it's just not doing well. It's not, for example, Chinese manufacturers like Xpeng, Neo, and all, they really know their game. They know how to make an EV, sell an EV, kind of run the network. But General Motors, even after so many years and so much money being pumped into it, has not been able to go ahead and take care of this entire problem. And basically, this entire industry is going to move towards electric vehicles. So, uh, General Motors really needs to basically nail this as quickly as possible. Now, the biggest problem that General Motors is having right now, which no one's talking about, is in this year alone, General Motor has done a $10 billion buyback of its own stocks, and it has promised 33% dividends. Now, this has actually made sure that General Motor stocks are up by 12% as we speak right now in December. But see, basically throwing money to people, like buying back shares, giving them a lot of dividends. This is a short term solution. This is not a long term solution in relation to the problem that GM faces. So, for example, if you do a stock buyback, if you do a $33 billion dividend, sorry, 33% dividend, that does not solve your Ultium battery problems. That does not solve the problem that you will be paying $595 extra next year. That does not solve the problem that Cruise is going to be taken to courts. In fact, it's already there in the courts. That does not solve the problem that GM is losing $200 million every week. So what's happening is that the General Motor Board and Maribara itself, they are basically coming up with these short-term solutions of, hey, you know what, we'll go ahead and do a stock buyback. We'll go ahead and provide them with dividends to just keep the share price up. But my assumption is that by the year 2024, when the actual stock route comes, see, if the Feds do not decrease the interest rates, there's going to be a disaster on the stock market, and for sure, GM is going to be one of the guys who's going to face the bloodbath uh, by a huge margin. So, I personally think that though we are in the year 2023, I do not think that General Motors is going to survive more than 2 decades, probably a decade itself. So, I think Probably General Motors is going to die out, or will be owned significantly by the US government by the year 2032 or 2030. So let's see what happens. Cheers. Bye bye.